Do it again. If you can hear me, clap twice. Hi, everybody. Welcome to FarCon. We're super grateful you're here, and I'm going to give the microphone to the best people in the world. Here we go.
Okay, thanks everyone for coming. There's a lot of thank yous. We have not slept, so we're not going to be articulate about this, but just wanted to say thank you for everyone for coming. People came from Japan, Singapore, Chile. I came from Venice, down the street, so. And just wanted to give a huge shout out to both Bryn and Cameron, who hosted the first FarCon last year in Boston. When QDAO was probably nowhere near where it is today. And I just want to also give a shout out to everyone who helped here. We have Graham McBain, Heavyweight, we'll hear from her in a second. Matt from Eventcaster, Dylan Steck, who's really been incredible on Farcaster, the hackathon. Jess, who helped with art. There's so many. Jess, who helped with art night. I could keep going, but I truly have no brain cells left. And I just want to hand it over to Erica quickly to give a little bit, to share a little bit about her story about how she got involved, because I think it is a testament to FarCon and the Farcaster ecosystem, and we'll give you a little bit more context into how this all came together. So,
hi everyone. I'm going to be reading straight off of my phone because, as Ted said, we are sleep deprived and brain dead, and I don't trust myself to stay on track. So, hope you enjoy. First of all, I just want to say I'm so stoked to have everyone here. Like, I have been waiting for this for months. We started planning this in early November. So it has been a long time coming, and it evolved into such a large and beautiful community, and I can't wait to meet every single one of you. I want to briefly talk about a phrase that we've probably all seen a lot on Farcaster, which is many such cases. And in honor of my bio, where I say that I believe that vulnerability is strength, I want to tell a very short version of a very long story. About 3 days after our first meeting to organize FarCon, and I had only been on Farcaster around like 6 weeks at this point, by the way, so great example of we're all still early. Oh no, I lost some of it. Okay, well, I accidentally deleted half of my speech, so I'll try and wing it. But essentially, 3 days after our first meeting for FarCon, I was lying in a hospital bed dying, pretty much. From a freak accident and a freak infection. And I was out for a few weeks. Obviously, I'm here and healthy and I recovered, but I lost my job because of it, and I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I was recovering from a very serious illness and I had no income. So I spent time on Farcaster. I was open, I was just authentically myself, and it seemed that people responded to it. And I made friends online again for the first time in a decade, and I even met my co-founder, Christopher, wherever he is, by sending him a very unhinged and out of the blue message. We've never talked before, and I was just like, hey, what's up? And just sent him random stuff. And then he was like, want to be my co-founder? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I couldn't have picked a better human to choose as my co-founder, and Farcaster is literally the thing that made it possible. In 6 short months, I literally went from death's door to standing here today, starting my first ever company, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without Farcaster as a builder. Thank you guys. So I want to end with a little bit of sappiness, which is that we're all doers, we all want to create and contribute, and that's why you're all here. Farcaster is special, and that's because of the community's collaborative nature. We all lift each other up, and that's priceless in the world we live in, and I think we need to recognize how special that is. These opportunities to connect help keep that trust and collaboration alive, and I'm so, so, so deeply grateful that I got to be involved in this and create a space and opportunity for everyone to connect off screen. And what better way to do this than shove nature in your faces, and that's why all of the branding is all nature-oriented, no technology, because I want everyone to enjoy touching grass in the sun over the next few days. Thank you all for coming, and I can't wait to meet everyone.
okay, now for the main event. You know who they are. They need no introduction.
I checked YouTube, but I didn't check. Oh my god. Please get a picture.
So for those who don't know, the deal was if we got to 100,000 DAO, we would do a Michael Jackson dance like Jack Ma did. We didn't quite get there, but Les Grays was kind enough to make some jackets, and so we decided to wear them on stage. So maybe next year we'll do this.
All right, one more thing. So we can't see the slides from up here on stage. And Dan didn't send me the slide because he said it'll be fine, we'll just look at them on stage. So, and I have the clicker, so I'm gonna need all your help. If the wrong slide comes up, or if it's an embarrassing photo, I need a thumbs down. And if it's the right slide, I need a thumbs up.
I made the slides on my phone in an Uber last night. Okay, so first of all, welcome to FarCon. Before we start, I actually want to give a huge shout out. There are so many people who have organized events this week and different side events, obviously the main event, but I think the people who need a big shout out are Graham, Erica, and definitely Ted. So can we give them a... So last year, the first FarCon was organized by Cameron. Where's Cameron? Right there. And Grin is in here in the back. It actually almost didn't get off the ground. For those of you who were on the network at the time, no one actually bought the tickets. And so they persevered, and ultimately 100 people showed up to an event in Boston. And I was lucky enough to attend. And I don't even know if I've ever shared this, but we were at a pretty low point in kind of Farcaster's history. I think we were in doldrums in 2023, and it was unclear, do people even care about this thing that we're building? Like are we building the right thing? And to have 100 internet strangers show up, like some people traveled from, I think, Singapore to a meetup basically in Boston. It was incredibly motivating. It was very much a second wind in our sails to kind of continue making progress and knowing that what we were working on was important. And so a bit surreal to be a year later with everything that's happened and all the growth, and to see it in a standing room only 500 people, it feels pretty special. Oftentimes people will ask me, oh, so what do you do? And I say, well, I'm a social network, and so they're like, well, what does that mean? And so I basically say, I hang out with 10,000 internet friends basically every day that I've never met. And I think most people kind of look at me a little strangely and then don't ask me any more questions. But I think the thing that's special about FarCon is I'm meeting so many of you for the first time. And so yesterday was able to meet a bunch of folks at the welcome event, and I'm looking forward to meeting so many of you today. The one thing, I probably won't recognize you from your PFP. So if you can introduce yourself and maybe show me the card, that would be really helpful. So today, I think what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about the future of Farcaster. And so Varun is going to kick that off.
Cool. So, all right, future of Farcaster. What does Farcaster look like a year from today? Well, the first thing I hope is that we're all here at FarCon 25, and I hope it's run by Ted and the amazing crew that put this together. Let's have a round of applause if you watch FarCon 25.
He's like, I quit.
All right. So Farcaster will be about 4 years old by then. But I hope we're all here still saying that we're early, because we think Farcaster is a protocol that's like the internet, that's like email, that has the potential to be around here for a really long time. Maybe even... No?
There's no slide.
Okay, we'll go. It was funny, but I'll just say aloud where the funny slides are, and if you guys just follow along, that'll be great. So Farcaster might feel bigger then, but I hope it still has that same energy, that same purpose, that URL to IRL pipeline that's bringing us all here together so that we can make new friends and build new things. And our goal is that, a year from now, we'd love to be at 1 million daily users, which is an ambitious goal, but we have a plan for how we want to get there. And there's 3 parts to it. The first is grow with crypto, then it's create cozy corners, and finally make more Legos. So let's talk about grow with crypto. So we want Farcaster to be the best place to be if you're doing something on chain. If anything interesting happens on chain, we want you to find out about it here first. And it's because crypto is what makes Farcaster work. Not just the technology, but also the culture. It's the common thread that's brought all of us here together so that we can make new friends and find new communities. And it's really important that we're able to create something that this group of people really, truly loves. And if we're able to do that, we can grow outwards from there. But we don't think we've cracked that yet. And that's what we really need to make sure we do before moving on.
So the second point is create cozy corners. And I think the thing to think about, and this is the headline of FarCon, is the URL to IRL pipeline is real on Farcaster. Quick show of hands if you've met a new friend as a result of Farcaster. Okay. So this is actually very good because I've read on Twitter the only people who use Farcaster are bots, and I think but
Not a bot.
I think that new friendships are a key thing that what makes Farcaster special, and actually makes it feel less like social media and more like a social network. And so I think when we think about scaling Farcaster, the key to scaling Farcaster is to not have it be a massive group chat, but instead enable people to create those cozy corners all over the network. And I think channels are the tool that we believe that can kind of take us there. And so over the next year, you're going to see us invest a lot in terms of features, but also fully decentralizing channels into the protocol so that other applications and developers can kind of permissionlessly come up with even better ideas to kind of create those cozy spaces. And if we do that, I really believe that that is going to be the way that we can broaden the appeal of Farcaster beyond just crypto. And it enables anyone on the network to kind of bring in a group of people that have a shared interest, whether that's gardening, F1 racing, whatever it might be. Ultimately, channels are the way we're going to get there, and I think you're going to see us invest quite a bit into the channels.
Cool. The last point is make more Legos. And insert sweaty Steve Ballmer meme here. As our friend Steve said, it's all about developers. So actually, let's do another quick show of hands. How many of you here have built something on Farcaster, whether it's an NFT, a community, a frame in action? I mean, that's crazy. That's more than 2/3 of the people here. I mean, what other social network has most of its users actually building on top of it? And it's incredible to see all the stuff people have built, especially the things that we never imagined, like being able to buy Girl Scout cookies on chain. And that's why we're really focused on building more Legos. We want to see all this awesome stuff people build when there are more frames, more actions, programmable direct casts, and all of this other stuff that we want to build.
Working.
And there's a saying I like, which is that no matter who you are, most of the smartest people in the world don't work for you. But if we build the right, and that's going to be true for Farcaster, right? But if we build the right Legos, maybe many of you folks will come build Farcaster with us. And that's why we're focused on making more Legos.
So to recap, grow with crypto, create cozy corners, and make more Legos. I think we do that, we can make a lot of progress over the next year and in the next decade. I think Varun and I are just so incredibly grateful for all of you for taking a bet on us so early. And I think we have a lot of work to do, but together I think we can make a lot of progress. So cheers. I think it's time for Q&A.
No.
Yeah, I could yell? Okay, I'm not gonna yell now. Hey everybody, I'm Colin from the Ponder team. We're gonna be rehashing some of the questions that were posted in the FarCon channel. These are just sorted by how many likes they have. There's no other filtering, so good luck up there.
So the engagement farmers got to talk.
Basically. Okay, so first question here. Since the ideas you put out last year, and I guess for context, Dan put out a list of all the things that he thinks people should be building on the Farcaster protocol. But since that list came out last year, which idea are you most excited about today, and which ones remain to be built?
Yeah, so I'm still very bullish on channels, and I spent time talking about it 5 minutes ago, but I genuinely think channel-specific clients and kind of creating clients that are geared towards specific communities is a massive opportunity. I have this pet theory that any subreddit with million+ members should be a $10 million a year business. And not to say that all clients for channels should be businesses, but I genuinely believe that every kind of niche internet community at internet scale can actually be its own social network. And when you have it be open and permissionless like Farcaster, it makes it really easy.
Awesome. Anything to add to that, Varun? Nope. Okay. All right. So right now, and that was from Alex Massamed, by the way. The next question is from Lynx, and it's right now. It seems like you put a lot of effort into building something people want to use. Do you think your VC funding will eventually put you in a situation where you have to build things users don't want?
Yeah. So a bunch of the VCs are actually here today. But I think generally, like, one, the people we're working with are all great people, and two, Varun and I are ultimately the final decision makers on everything. And so I think that there's this meme that somehow the VCs are kind of like pulling the strings from behind the scenes, but the reality is they ultimately want us to build something that people want, and if you do that, it can be very massive and everyone can benefit. And so I think where we are focused and why we've been patient in terms of how we've been building is like ultimately it comes down to how many people are using Farcaster every day, and we can get into the details on how to measure that and whether everyone is QDAO or whatever. But ultimately, if we can make progress every single week in terms of the number of people that find Farcaster interesting and useful and are willing to use a Farcaster app, that's the only thing that actually matters. And if we can do that over the next 5 to 10 years, it could end up being something really massive.
Cool. Okay, next question here. That one was from Lynx. The next question here. The focus on building towards a protocol that can support 1 million users is ambitious and part of why I love building Farcaster. What do you hypothesize the architecture would need to evolve to so it can accommodate 1 billion users? And this is from Cassie.
I know that you really want me to answer that question, but I'm going to let Varun answer it.
I think the short answer is 1 billion is 4 orders of magnitude away from where we are today. And there's a lot we don't know about what's going to break on the path to getting there. What we've been thinking about is how do we get to the next 10x to get to a million users. And there's a very, very long GitHub issue with all the things on there that we could use help with if anyone wants to participate. But I think the short version, if I had to really condense it into something, is it's 3 things from the architecture POV. It's how do you do sync well? When you have millions and millions of objects that are like floating around between different servers, how do you make sure that they all get into sync really, really quickly? It's storage, which is how do you control the amount of data that people put on the network? And this is one of the biggest questions we get about how storage units work on Farcaster. Why can I only store 2,500 casts? There's a lot of balancing that goes into like hitting the right balance between a price point that you can enter Farcaster and have it be permissionless and how much data you get to keep on the network. And I think balancing these 2 things and figuring out a path forward for this is going to be what gets us to 1 million users. If we can make the storage scale and if we can make the sync scale, we feel really, really good about getting there.
Great. Okay, the next question, I kid you not, was asked before they had these outfits on, and it's from Borodutch. And he says, we sent you 100,000 daily active users. Please respond with wizard costume on stage. Done. Done. Okay, that's that. All right, so next question here. Despite the protocol being open, Warpcast is by far the dominant client. You guys hear this a lot, and will likely remain so for a while. How do you both think about network and client diversity?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I wrote a blog post about this. It's product-led protocol development. And fundamentally, if you ask many of the developers who are here today, the number one thing that they want for their app are users. And if they don't have users and the protocol doesn't have users, then they're not actually getting what they want from Farcaster. And so I think the kind of Ronnie Coleman, everyone want to be a bodybuilder, but no one want to lift no heavy ass weights. Like ultimately, you have to actually grow the number of users on the protocol before you kind of get to a thriving ecosystem. And so I think we believe that we have probably 2 orders of magnitude. We always think in orders of magnitude, so roughly 100,000 people using the network today. I think we need to be closer to 10 million before you really start to actually have, not to say that the people building on it today, they're taking an early bet, and I actually think it's great, but I think like when you get to 10 million, you can actually have a pretty robust ecosystem where people can actually have thriving, independent, sustainable businesses alongside Warpcast. And so I don't think anyone else is going to go do that. So I think fundamentally we have to drive that forward. And maybe when we get to that 10 million point, we can kind of reassess how we interact with the protocol.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, which is originally when Dan and I started building, we thought there would be a lot of clients on day one, a lot of people coming in building different apps. And the reality is it's incredibly hard to get users. And it's a lot of work and it's a lot of schlepping. Dan did 400 Google Meet calls over like a few weeks to get our initial users, and most of them just left right after that. And so I think what really has to happen is the protocol isn't valuable unless there's people using it. This isn't like a financial blockchain thing. There's no like speculation on the protocol itself. You're here because of the people, and unless we do the work to bring the people here, no one else is going to want to build on this, and that's what we want to be focused on.
Great. All right, last question here. Who will steward the Farcaster protocol in the far future when you both stop working at Merkle Manufacturing?
Let's stop working at Merkle Manufacturing before we worry about that question, right?
I
don't know.
I would recommend you don't stop now.
I think that there's this. I think that there's this thing in crypto where people love like kind of focusing on the decentralized governance before they've actually built something valuable. And it's like, okay, let's actually get to something that is actually sustainable, like where you have 10 million people using it every day, and if we stopped working on it, 10 million people would still continue working on it every day. Like that's the threshold where you actually have to start worrying about, okay, like how do you put this into place? Because right now, if the Merkle team stops working on Farcaster, there are potentially going to be other alternatives. We're so early, right, and small, and so I think we have to be maniacally focused on let's earn the right to worry about the kind of like fun decentralized governance stuff, where you've actually built something that is Lindy, that is sustainable, and I think that's very much our mentality. It's like don't solve problems prematurely. Like the problem right now is get more people interested in Farcaster and get them to use Farcaster apps every day.
Yeah, I'll answer maybe a slightly different question that wasn't asked, but it's how does stuff work today? And I think our model for governance is very simple. It's rough consensus and running code. If you can ship the PR or the code and you can convince everybody who's currently working on the protocol that it's a good idea, that's it, you're in. But it's actually building something that works and getting the people currently working on apps, on protocols, on clients to buy in. That's the hard part, and that's how governance really works on Farcaster today.
Awesome. Okay, that concludes the FarCon channel questions. We're going to go a little bit more dangerous now and ask for questions from the audience, if anyone has any.
My only request is ask a question. Don't start with a statement.
Hands went down.
Are you sure Harry doesn't have a question?
When you leave Farcaster, who will take over?
Maybe you.
Excellent question, Harry.
That was a good question.
I want to say, Dan, that you have changed my life. I'm from Chile. This is my first time traveling outside of my country. And Varun, I'm sorry I didn't make one for you, but I want to give you a hat that is made in Chile, and please accept it.
Sure, I would love to wear
You
it.
have made my dreams come true. I always wanted to travel. I have never traveled outside of Chile, never take a plane, anything. So thank you, Dan, and thank you to everyone coming here. Can I give it to you?
Yeah.
Let's go. Please. I'm sorry.
So there is a second hat, but it's for Jesse Pollock.
Hey, I'm Chicago, also Jamie IRL. And Varun, I was curious, you like mechanical keyboards, and what is currently your daily driver?
Oh man, my mechanical keyboard game is actually pretty basic. If you want real mechanical keyboards, you have to ask Chris on our team, who I don't know where he is, but he's in the mechanical keyboards channel. But mine is the Kinesis RGB.
It's extremely loud.
He has the same keyboard.
Hi. What's going on, Jason?
How are you guys?
Doing good?
Good, good. Hi, everyone. Jason, Beta Shop. Nice to see everybody. I think I'll start with a statement and then a question. So, I think y'all know over the last couple of years I've been one of your loudest vocal critics. And I wanted today to say thank you, because you guys have done a tremendous job. And on behalf of someone whose entire business is pivoted to Farcaster, and on behalf of everyone who is making money, making a business on Farcaster, I think we all say thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
And then the question. So what are the things that you want us to push you on more? What are the things that would be helpful to have the community push you on harder? I think one of the things that I think you guys have done remarkably well on over the last couple of years is listening when pushed and taking it to heart and reacting and responding very professionally and for the benefit of the community. So if you think about the things that the community could do to help you guys think farther, to think differently, what are those things at the top of your list?
Yeah, I think the thing for me is, and there's always kind of this interplay because I tend to, on Farcaster, I tend to go back and forth with people giving feedback. One, feedback is always welcome, even if I don't agree with it. Like, it ultimately is going to kind of seep into my head, and then I talked to Varun about it, and he's like, "You must have been on Farcaster today because you seem to have a whole bunch of new ideas." And so it actually is, I think, very valuable. I think the one thing I would ask people to do is maybe come with proposed solutions a little bit more. I think a lot of it is, this isn't working for me, which is fine, but then it ultimately means that we need to decide what the solution is. And it's not to say that the solution is something that we're going to implement, but I actually think proposed solutions also help us understand the problem better, because when people propose solutions, that is actually a reflection of also fundamentally what they think the problem is. Because I think sometimes people will indicate a problem, and then the solution is actually potentially closer to the actual problem. So that would be the one thing I would say.
Dan Varun, good to see you. My name's Ivy. You probably all know me. So Dan, my question is, to hit your DAO goals, do you think that like non-crypto communities have to really buy into Farcaster? Just to use an example we're both familiar with. Pirate Wires kind of came on, and that channel has, kind of been derelicted a bit. Like, do you think there needs to be some mass event where communities outside of crypto find it easier, or that's become part of their kind of marketing thing to hit 1 million or anything beyond that? Or do you think you can get those numbers from within crypto?
I think outlining what Varun said is very much, we're in belief that there is actually a lot more juice to squeeze within crypto. And so staying focused on that, winning in a category, earning the right to kind of expand beyond, I think is good discipline, rather than immediately going, okay, how broad can we get?
Yeah.
And I also think that the honest answer, and I've been spending a lot of time on this, is that channels are in a place where you can onboard a community really easily. It's pretty clunky. And so I think a lot of the work that we need to do outside of getting channels into the protocol fully is with basic blocking and tackling for social apps. It's not that glamorous. It's like, what does the invite flow look like? Like, how do you invite, Phil at Bright Moments wanted to invite his entire DAO. We didn't have a good way to do that.
Totally.
And so I think that is the work we need to do over the next 6 months, so that when you want to onboard a community to Farcaster, it should be kind of like a few clicks and a magical experience.
Totally. Cool. Thank you.
Good question.
Hey, I'm Phil Steck.E. I'll keep it pretty short because it's kind of a follow-up, actually. I know that when channels were first coming out, part of it was, how do we get people into a space who are just the most interested about that topic, whether they're crypto native or not. But seeing how you guys are talking about the flow here, it seems like the plan is more so build with crypto and then have these Lego blocks that can go out to a larger community without it necessarily being your focus. Do you still think there are opportunities for Web2 users to come into clients if they take care of things like giving you a free Farcaster account, making it easy to add to a conversation in the channel, for example?
I think certainly. I just think it's what is the average person coming out to Farcaster today? They're probably interested in crypto, and I think that shifts over time. But I think one of the things that has really clicked up for us, and actually some of the feedback at the various events we went to yesterday to meet builders, is channels are a pretty powerful primitive for developers. I think maybe we started with, hey, this is just a good way to broaden content. But I've talked to a bunch of developers that they have all these ideas that they actually want to use channels for, partially because, and especially once we get into the protocol, that they are programmable and permissionless. And so I think, and you can see this with Automod, where is, I don't even know his name. I just know him by his initials. Yeah, John. Yeah, so I mean, Automod permissionlessly built. I mean, we didn't even have real APIs for this, and like it's actually materially improved a lot of people's channels because they can actually configure it the way they want. And so we should have the kind of permissionless set of APIs that actually make it so that developers can kind of get really creative. And you can fundamentally think of channel as just like a community primitive. And so I think that is very much the focus. And once that gets really good, and you've actually done that a bunch within crypto, you're naturally going to start having other people use it because it's actually the best tool for the job.
The only thing I'll add, going back to Ivy's point, is I think it's much less likely that communities outside of Farcaster decide to just transplant in here and become a channel, and much more likely that the organic groups that are starting here, like tabletop, lifting, all of these things, that as they grow bigger and bigger, they become draws for people from outside to come in.
Yeah, and I mean, a huge shout out to obviously the DGen community in the sense that they started as a channel and then ultimately, are now like a whole ecosystem, right? And so I think that playbook of you can have a group of people who are excited about something and use that as the basis for organizing your community, I think that can expand to a whole bunch of other use cases.
Cool. I think we've got time for maybe 2 more questions. 3 more questions.
What's up? Sheldon here. I just wanted to also co-sign to what Jason said. Thank you for everything you guys are doing, because we kind of pivoted our full company just to be on Farcaster. So thank you for that. And the second thing is, what was the best and worst part of frames? Just because it was kind of a completely net new feature that came to Farcaster. Just want to get curious on what you guys thought was the best and worst part, and then kind of follow up when full screen frames, so it's more immersive, or would you kind of keep that up a separate client?
Yeah. So for me, I think just the general interest in Farcaster was the good and the bad, in the sense that there were a bunch of new people showing up. There were a bunch of new people building things. Obviously, people in the community building things for the first time. What you're building, that's exciting. I think that it also attracted kind of a level of criticism of Farcaster, of oh, Farcaster is only about X or Y, and I think it doesn't necessarily highlight the the multifaceted nature of what's happening. That's fine. That's always going to happen when you have moments where you're kind of like the main character on crypto Twitter. But I think I think what's been great about Frames is it's actually very the team drove Frames in terms of it wasn't some brilliant idea that we had. As kind of an organic evolution, and I think they continue to do it, right? Actions, and now we have multi-step frames. And Horsefax and Tony have been working on that is actually the important thing. Is just we need to make progress for 2 years in a row, every week, just keep making things a little bit better. And that's ultimately the thing I'm most excited about with Frames.
Yeah. I think for me, the best part about Frames at Go launch was on day 1, we started working with Bountycaster, Once Upon Gallery, showed them an early working version of Frames, and they all got super excited and shipped something on it. And on day 1, as soon as we launched it, a couple of hours in, Paragraph, Colin, who's here, already launched his own frame. And it was really, really exciting to see. It felt like the spark of something really cool. And that was probably the best part of the whole Frames experience. The worst part was the site going down nonstop for the next 2 weeks after.
All right, who's next? Right here.
I'll wait till tomorrow.
You hinted at this just now, but I wonder if we have casts, we have frames, we have cast actions, we have multi-step frames. These are a bunch of instances over the class of the programmable feed. Where does this go? What part of the platform do you want to further let people program? And there's a tension perhaps with parts that the platform wants to keep for itself.
Direct casts. I think if there's one single thing that we've heard from talking to everybody here who's building on Farcaster, the ability to first program direct casts so that you can use it as a channel to communicate with folks on Farcaster. In many cases, people who you are building products for but don't have an email address for, that's going to be, I think, one of the most powerful things. And the second stage, I think, is going to be making them interoperable so that other clients like Supercast, Nook, and others can also have their own version of direct casts. I think those are going to be 2 obvious big priorities for us.
I also think that just the last point is I actually don't view anything that Warpcast is doing as something that Warpcast is trying to do for itself. So anytime we are doing something that other developers need, it's fundamentally for us to figure out to do it at the protocol level. And I think one of the amazing things about having companies like Nanar and Airstack and Yada building now on Farcaster is they're offering that to developers, right? And they're taking some of the lessons from what we've done, but most importantly, they're starting to permissionlessly innovate, right? So Airstack has a basically an alternative to the Power Badge using on-chain signals. We don't use that for the Power Badge. And so I think that entire ecosystem that gets built out over the next couple of years ends up in a much more robust situation where there is nothing that Warpcast has. Yes, we have some of this channel stuff that's going in the protocol. Direct messaging will be in the protocol. It's just a sequencing thing, and I think it's just keeping focused on when is the right time to push things into the protocol, and that's very much how our philosophy is going to be.
Hey guys, this is Luis from Nanar. We did some stuff on Farcaster. Question for you, less Farcaster related, more co-founder related. What is one thing you think is the most fun about your co-founder, and one thing that is the most annoying about your co-founder?
That's for tomorrow.
So I think generally, like, Varun is, he's a very optimistic person and a much more level-headed person than me. Like, I can oscillate up and down very easily, and I think keeping things steady is, I think, really important, especially if you're working on something with a long-term horizon. The thing I don't like about him is he's usually right, and that is that could be frustrating.
I think the thing that I would say about Dan, the most fun part is the high energy. I think Dan always comes into the office every morning with this like crazy energy that's just infectious, and it's like one of the most fun things about going into the office to work with Dan. Most annoying is when he makes fun of my keyboard.
All right, I think with that, we're going to call it here. So everyone, let's give it up for Dan and Varun.
Hello. Okay, I finally had 2 minutes to grab my thoughts. So I have some thank yous to make. Number one, Icebreaker and the Unlock teams for these amazing passes. This might be the coolest, I think, crypto check-in ever. You actually didn't have to check your name and cross it off a paperless like every other crypto conference. So I'm going to give you 2 seconds to explain to you how they work, and then go.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm Dan, aka Web3PM, co-founder at Icebreaker. Yeah. And I'll give you a quick background about Icebreaker, and then Jack will tell you about using the cards. But about a year ago, Jack and I co-founded the company to build applications around decentralized identity, as we're super excited about that. And we actually spent a bit of time thinking about, do we build on Farcaster's identity system in early 2023? Because if you actually read and watch Varun's videos, they're really powerful identity system. Like, that's a huge innovation to Farcaster. At the time, it was invite only, so we decided we're just going to keep building. But we're now super excited to be powering this entire conference. And if it's not clear now from the app, our go-to-market is to destroy LinkedIn by building something that you can control and be able to connect better through trust, which is like ultimately what happens when AI sort of pollutes the information in the world. And we're super excited to build with interoperable identity, which is why you all have these passes that should be hard-coded to your identities on Farcaster.
Awesome. Yeah, so if you don't know how the passes work yet, by the way, I'm Jack Duddy, J4CK. It's great to see everybody. This is just a treat. Yeah, so if you don't know how the passes work yet, you can just tap your phone on anybody else's. It's already pre-mapped to your Icebreaker account that includes your Farcaster. And you can also include other things like your Signal address, Telegram, etc. So it's like one shot for all your accounts. So enjoy the tapping. We're also exposing the connection graph in an open data format. So if you're hacking later, come find us. We'll get you the API, let you build on top. So thanks so much. And here's Julian.
Hey everyone, it's great to see everyone here. Julian from Unlock. We're building a protocol for memberships, and tickets are one-off memberships. Hopefully not just one-off. Next year, the year after, we'll all come back to FarCon. We're building this with the idea that the whole space, and I think that's been a theme, should be interoperable, should be composable. And so I'm really excited to have partnered with the Icebreaker folks so that the ticket itself is an NFT on-chain that anyone can hook on, and especially obviously Icebreaker can build on top of, and then other kind of application can leverage this and kind of create a holistic experience for users that integrates their data across the web. So thanks everyone for joining today, and thanks Ted again for doing all of the work.
The NFT pass, the NFT in your wallet also evolved when you checked in. So look at the new NFT. More thank yous. I don't know where he is, but Ryan from Slow Rodeo, I would not have been able to put this together without him. So Ryan, huge shout out to you. I don't know where he is. If you see him, he's helping with the merch shop as well. So thank you to Ryan. Thank you to Val and his team from Lumina, the AV guys, they're the best. Thank you to Nicole from 57 Windward for really hooking us up with the venue, who I actually know from TikTok. So speaking of, instead of using TikTok, everyone here should record your videos, upload them to Dracula and hashtag FarCon, and there might be a fun little surprise for you there. Shout out to Cooper's team, specifically Cece Palmquist. I don't know where she is, but she also helped immensely, would not have been able to do without it. Shout out to the Base team, Base Cafe, Merch Shop, and then most important shout out is actually to Yes to Crypto and to Cassie and to a whole bunch of other of you who helped me hire my sister and my mom to help work the event. So they're over there. Can we give them a big shout out? That's Ted's mom on Farcaster. Go follow her. She's great. She's really good at blogs. She gets her steps in every day. And then last thing, make sure to grab your co-op. And a little shout out to FCNY, the meetups that Caro hosts in New York. We're doing a little giveaway later today. So thank you to Caro, and thanks to everyone who hosts community meetups everywhere around the world. And then last thing is, next talks will start at 11:25. There's a second main room up here, then there's a breakout room, and then you're gonna get a lot of steps in today if you're going in the venue, so just prepare your glutes. We will tell you the lunch plans at the next talk here at 12:15. Merch shop will be open all day, coffee's open all day. Feel free to mix and mingle, but everyone, that's it. Thanks for coming. See you at the next one.